This video guitar lesson is all about how to play the F chord on the guitar. If you're a beginner guitar player or you're just struggling with the F chord, I'm going to go over several different ways to play the chord, some that are easy or easier. And if you're a more intermediate guitar player, I'm also going to share some ways you may not have seen before so you can get the exact type of sound that you're looking for when you play the F chord on the guitar. So let's get right into it. So you can start by putting your ring finger on the 3rd fret of the D string, then your middle finger on the 2nd fret of the G string, and your pointer finger or index finger on the 1st fret of the B string. And just play those 3 strings. An F major chord is the notes F, A, and C. So here's the note F, the 3rd fret of the D string. Here's the note A, the 2nd fret of the G string. And here's the note C, the 1st fret of the B string. So as long as you have those 3 notes, you have an F chord. So there's a lot of different ways that we can play an F chord on the guitar. So we can also add our pointer finger on the 1st fret of the high E string. So you could practice this just playing those 2 notes. And this note here, the 1st fret of the high E string, is the note F. So we're just adding another F note. And it adds some brightness to the sound because we're using a very thin string here. Then see if you can add your middle finger on the 2nd fret of the G string. And so just these 3 notes here is an F chord because we have the notes A, C, and F. So if you like the sound of just these 3 strings, this is an F chord. And you'll notice so far with these ways of playing the F chord that my fingers are not parallel with the frets. Like for example, this one here, I'm not playing it like that. It's actually very difficult to do that. I don't even think I can do that, but my fingers are slanted. So here's the first one that I showed you. Then when I flatten out my pointer finger, you can see that it's also still slanted, pointed toward my face. And you'll notice that my pinky is floating in the air. I don't recommend doing this, hiding it like that, because you always want to have all 4 fingers ready to go for something else you might want to play. And the way my thumb is for this chord is it's not perfectly straight in the air. It's actually turned this way. And that's because I'm slanting my fingers. So you can see if I turn my hand like this, you can see that my thumb is actually pointing that way. And I don't do that all the time, but for this chord I do. Another challenge with this chord is that it's tricky to not accidentally hit the E string while you're wanting to do some strumming with your right hand. So it doesn't really sound very good. There's a couple things you can do to help with that, and that is instead of strumming like this with your whole arm, you could try putting your palm right here on the E string, and then you can slide it a little bit as you're strumming. Another thing you can do is actually bring your thumb up over on the E string. Another important part of the technique for this chord and every chord, or anything you play on the guitar actually, is to always try to get every finger as close to the fret as possible. It actually looks sometimes like I'm on the fret because I'm so close to it, but I've just developed over the years the muscle memory to get it as close to the fret as possible. And the reason for that is if you move over here away from the fret, you actually have to press harder to get the note to ring out. So the further you go, the more difficult it is. The closer you get to the fret, the easier it is to play. And now let's add another string. So what we'll do is actually put our ring finger on the 3rd fret of the A string, and then our pinky on the 3rd fret of the D string, and then middle finger, 2nd fret of the G string, and you can put your index finger, your pointer finger on the 1st fret of the B string at least, and if you're able to, also have it on the high E string like that. And so you play all the strings except the low E string. It's going to sound like this. So this note right here on the 3rd fret of the A string is the note C. So this chord is an F chord, and it's more specifically called an F/C chord. But anyway, it's an F chord. And now let's play an F chord with all 6 strings. This is called an F bar chord. Here we go. So you put your index finger, your pointer finger on the 1st fret of all 6 strings, but mainly the focus is on the 1st fret of the low E string. This part of your finger is going to play the B string and high E string. And you'll notice it's not this part of my finger, it's this part, closer to my thumb. So you can practice putting your finger here and rolling it a little bit this way. So it's not supposed to be parallel with the fret, and it's not supposed to be flat. It's turned this way. So we're using the side of the finger, not the back of the finger. And our other fingers are going to go in the same place they were in the last chord. One of the advantages of playing an F bar chord is that you can really strum with your right hand and get a really big strum that you're not able to get any other way. If you're having a difficult time with this chord or any bar chord, I have a video specifically all about bar chords. I'll put the link in the description. It will give you different exercises you can do, tips and tricks, and I really believe it will help you, so please check it out. As you're playing this F bar chord, if you find that the B string and high E string are muffled, you can actually play just these 4 strings. That is an F chord. The 1st fret of the low E string is the note F, and then the 3rd fret of the A string is the note C. The 3rd fret of the D string is the note F again, and then the 2nd fret of the G string is the note A. So this is an F chord just like this. Another way to get a different sound is to just play an F power chord, which you can play with just 2 or 3 strings. It's specifically called a F5 chord, and this is how you do it. So you put your index finger on the 1st fret of the low E string, and you can put your pinky or your ring finger on the 3rd fret of the A string. And that's it, you just play these 2 strings. But what really helps with the technique is to make sure that your pointer finger is flat, not barring these other strings or not actually fretting it down, but just kind of resting there to muffle the string so that if you accidentally pick one of these strings, it won't ring out, because that would sound really bad if you did that, like this type of sound. So as soon as I put my pointer finger down, that all goes away. You can also use your ring finger here on the A string and then put your pinky on the 3rd fret of the D string, just like that. Another way to do this is to put your pointer finger on the 8th fret of the A string, and then your ring finger on the 9th fret of the D string, and your pinky on the 9th fret of the G string, and then you have this sound like this. Again, you want to make sure that your index finger is flat hovering over these strings so they don't make any sound. Otherwise you'll have this type of sound. So you want to bring that finger down, flatten it out. And another thing I'm doing is the tip of my finger is touching the low E string, so that doesn't make any sound, because we don't want that to ring out as well. So I just bring that up, flatten my finger, and I have this sound. This way, if I accidentally pick the other strings, it won't matter too much. You can also use either your ring finger or pinky and bar that finger so that you can play the 9th fret of the B string as well, so you get this sound. Another way to play the F chord is to put your index finger on the 5th fret of the G string, and then your ring finger on the 6th fret of the B string, and your middle finger on the 5th fret of the high E string, like this. So this is just like playing a D chord, if you're familiar with a D chord, and you just slide over here, but do not play the E, A, or D string. You can also put your index finger on the 10th fret of the G string, and then your pinky on the 11th fret of the B string and high E string, like this. And now for the easiest way to play the F chord, you will need what's called a capo, and you put the capo on the 1st fret, and this is the same as if your finger was on the 1st fret, barring it, but now you don't have to do that, so you could just use your fingers like this and have that finger rest on the capo or just put it in the air, or you could just switch your fingers around like this. And you'll notice that this is an E major chord, if you're familiar with that. So this is not only the easiest way to play the F chord, but I think it's great if you're playing a song in the key of F, because you're most likely going to use the B flat chord as well, and it can be difficult to switch between the F chord and the B flat chord. So this makes it a lot easier because you could just play the E shape chord, and then if you play the A shape chord, that's actually now B flat. So E becomes F, I'm playing an F chord, just looks like an E chord, and then I'm playing a B flat chord, just looks like an A chord. So that's a lot easier than playing it this way. So I've been playing guitar for a very long time and I still find that difficult, so if I'm going to play a song in the key of F, I'm going to use a capo. Well, I hope you got something out of this video guitar lesson on the F chord. If you did, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. If you'd like to watch more of my videos on YouTube, just search Guitarincrease. I appreciate you doing that, and I appreciate you.